Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to This Week in the Busch League, Season 1, Episode 2. I'm Roger Burke, owner of the Bantam Roosters.
And I'm Jamie Salmon, owner of the Space Auditors.
All right, so this is our first season, second episode. Jamie, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Nice sunny day here in Spring City, and looking forward to another Busch League season.
This will be our 35th season. It'll be our 35th draft and our 37th as a league, though we had 2 years where we didn't have it for those who were listening back in the late 90s, and we're going to clear up that debacle next week when we talk to one of the owners. It's a beautiful day here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania as well. So just to recap from the weekend, you were on a little mini vacation the past couple of days. Is that right?
Yeah. So last Wednesday night, Jerry and I went to Austin, Texas, and just to let everybody know, had a great time in Austin. A little bit different than what I thought. Large homeless population, even on 6th Street. But had a great time, and if I can just share a real quick story, Raj.
Sure.
We went to a vodka distillery called D. Betty's. I don't know if you've ever tried their product. They usually have naturally flavored vodkas, and really good. And we were sitting there, and there weren't too many people there at that time. It's 1 o'clock on a Sunday, and Terry saw that they were giving away some swag. And I said, "You want that?" She goes, "Sure." I said, "I'll win it for you." I said, "Hey, what do I have to do to win this?" And he said, "Oh, we're going to have a trivia contest." I'm like, "Okay, great." I said, "Piece of cake there, no problem." So more and more people come in, and they say there's going to be 3 categories. First category is 10 rom-com quotes.
Okay, all right.
From the 2000s or from whatever. The second category was, are you smarter than a 4th grader?
All right.
And the third category was celebrity couples.
Okay.
Raj, I went 0 for 30.
What?
I
Wait,
didn't get
whoa. Are you exaggerating 30?
10 questions in each category.
You missed every one of them.
It was horrible. Well, I'm actually proud to say that I didn't know any quotes from rom-com movies. So, of course, my comeback is because, I'm competitive by nature. My comeback was, this is like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire versus Jeopardy. So I'm still intellectually smarter. So there you have it.
So I guess they gave you the answers at the end.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't even close.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Nothing.
It was an embarrassment.
Okay.
Absolute embarrassment.
What kind of 4th grader questions did they ask you? Geography?
Something like, when is the Independence Day of Texas?
Yeah, well, I don't know that.
Well, exactly. Most people don't know that. Terry did get one question, right? I think it was a difference between a homonym and a synonym, and so she got that one right. So she's obviously smarter than a 4th grader. Me, not so much. I stopped learning.
A homonym and a synonym, yeah, they're tough. Homonyms are...
Hey, what about you? You were out in Pittsburgh this week, right?
I was.
Going to see a basketball game?
Yes, we went. I went with Greg Souders, the old former owner, High Spire Hitman. We went to see Pitt, Virginia. Virginia, of course, is the defending national title team. They had a couple guys drafted. It was a good game. Virginia is really good. They didn't give an inch. They played man-to-man defense the entire 40 minutes. Very impressive, well-coached team. Looks a lot like Villanova, meaning that they have guys who are good, maybe not NBA lottery picks, but they have guys that stay in the school 3 or 4 years. And, yeah, that Tony Bennett's done a good job there. It was fun. It's the first time I've been in their Peterson Event Center, which is about, almost 20 years old. I have not been in there for a game. So it's
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's very professional. It was T-shirt giveaway day. But yeah, Pitt's a lot better. I think they're 15-13 this year. It's Jeff Capel's second year. 2 years ago, under Kevin Stallings, they didn't win an ACC game. And that's bad. I mean, you go through a conference without winning a game, that's a problem, right?
Yeah. No, well, LaSalle was close to that this year. I think they won, one or two? And I think the one game that they actually won in conference was against St. Joe's. So, sorry. I think Bob got out at the right time. He bailed.
Yeah, so it was a good weekend. It was a short weekend, but I went to Permanis. You familiar with Permanis? You know what that is?
I am.
Okay.
I am. You got to go, right?
Yeah, then I went to the
French fries on top.
Yeah, they eat coleslaw, and then went to the O yesterday before we left. So, it was fun. It's always good to go back, and it was funny that Greg and I went to the baseball field, and it's like a minor league stadium now. They got it's a revenue sport, press box, stands,
Wow.
yeah, turf. When I played there, we played on a skinned infield. It was all dirt. We had no dugouts and only a half a fence. We had to put up a snow fence in right field. So
Hey, I would say at least had a chain link fence back in the day.
we did. We had a chain link fence that ran straight, and we had to kind of put a snow fence up to bring it around right field. Yeah, so it's a little different 30 years later. But anyway, had a good time, and it was good catching up with Greg, who I haven't seen in a while. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good weekend.
It was a good weekend. So, on tap for today, we have we're 1 month out from the Busch League draft. We're going to talk about some draft preparation. We're going to talk about the cheating scandal. Again, there's some other news broke in the past week that we're gonna deal with. We're gonna talk about the Busch League trip coming up. I believe it's August 14 through 16. Am I right? I'm pretty close to it. Yeah. And then we'll just share some thoughts before we part this week. We will prep. Next week should be our first owner interview. We're working on plans there. Our people are talking to his people and trying to get him lined up. Right. Okay. Why don't we start with the Busch League trip? Kind of recap for those who are still debating to go.
Yeah. So I think Bill had announced at the winter meetings that he would like to go out to Dodger Stadium out in Los Angeles. As you had mentioned, Raj, the trip is scheduled for, I guess, games that will be played August 14th and 15th. Some of us will be flying in on August 13th, that Thursday before, and staying through the 16th. He's actually booked I think it's a five-bedroom, 10-guest house in Santa Monica.
Yeah, I saw
which
the
is
pictures.
about a mile or two from the beach, but should be uber close, if you will, live close.
And I think we had 8 responses as of this week, correct? Or do you have all 10?
So what I've seen is myself and Terry are in. Tom and Michelle are in. Bob Freeze is in. Bill is in. Bob Kirk is in. I don't know about Sam, and Casey's in.
Yeah.
So what that does, I guess that leaves you, Rick, and I guess Sam to if they're going or not.
Right. So I was telling Christy about she asked if I was going to go, and I said I don't know if I am. We're going to do some other stuff over the summer. Then we got I go to the Pitt football games, but I told her, I said that's the week I go back to work, and I don't want to look ahead and think, I can't wait to the Busch League trip because I know that I'm going back to work. It would be an internal stressor for me. I'm looking forward to the Busch League trip, but then I know I'm going back to work then the summer's over.
Well, I'm reducing my stress in 33 days.
I was going to ask you, 33 days. Are they calendar days or work days? Calendar or work? Calendar days. Okay.
Yeah, work days, I think we're down to, let's see, if we do the math really quickly, what's it, 5 weeks, so 25 potential work days, although, in 3 weeks I'll be done with the financial budget, so hopefully it's only 15 work days.
Right. So in military terms, because we all think like that when we're deployed, so you would refer to it as 32 and a wake up. So you got 32
and
complete,
a wake up, okay.
32 complete days, then you wake up and you're gone. You're leaving that day, right?
Yeah.
You're getting on the plane to go home. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Can't wait.
And
actually, you talk about the getting up on and going on a plane. My motto has been for this whole retirement: time to fly.
Time to fly, not time will fly. Right.
Nope, time to fly.
So I'll just give you some encouragement here. When we would deploy, I'd always tell the airmen that work for me, your first 30 days and your last 30 days are the days you have to be mindful of your behavior, your actions, your self-awareness, your awareness around, because that's when people get hurt. First 30 days and the last 30 days, because their heightened sense of security is not where it needs to be in the first 30 days, and it starts dissipating the last 30 days. So just make sure your heightened aware security is up. It's up where it needs to be.
That's a really good point, because you want to try and go out on a good term, but you know what? They make that choice. I'll let them set the expectation, and I'll kind of follow that. So as long as they don't give me too much grief here in the last 33 days, I'm perfectly on board with that.
Yeah. If you see a strange box in your office, don't go in. Call security. Get the dogs out there. See what's going on. Right? Okay, so March 21st, we have the Busch League Draft here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm going to host this year for those who are listening. And if you're not listening, then you won't have the address, because that's how we'll force everyone to listen. So the address would be, and I'm not even sure if I should publish this, but I'm pretty sure no one's listened. So it'd be 120 Conestoga Woods Way, Lancaster, PA 17602. Those of you who are looking for hotels, the Marriott downtown is a great place to stay. Very centrally located. It's about 4 minutes from where I live. You could easily take an Uber. You can walk if you're adventurous. You have to walk through some sketchy neighborhoods, but if you walk quickly, you'll be okay. Walk like you know. Walk like you know where you're going, man. Don't walk around with a map.
It's kind of like the Busch League Draft, right? Pretend like you know what you're doing.
Pretend like you know what you're doing. No one will bother you. Yeah. Because I think a couple of guys have talked about staying over.
Yeah, so I know Bob Kirk is looking to use points, and I think he has already asked about Hilton. And just to let you know, Bill has actually booked 2 rooms at the Courtyard Lancaster. What's that, about 10 minutes from your place?
Yeah, I think it's the one on Greenfield Road. Yeah, yep.
It says 1931 Hospitality Drive.
Oh, Hospitality Drive. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure where that is. But, I mean, if it's near the city, it's no more than 10 minutes away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a river that runs, I can see it out my back window. So if you have a canoe or a kayak and you're downriver, you can certainly do that. You can walk right up from there.
Well, some could say, Raj, that the season you might be paddling up the river, so who knows?
I've been paddling up the river for 37 years. So speaking about the draft, how deep are you into draft preparation?
So that's a great question. I actually begin my prep, start looking at things in January. And right now, I'm just reading through player profiles, player articles, and then we'll start to put together some list of potential players that I like, players that I want to stay away from, and then everything else is wide open. But Raj, this is so tough, and it's very interesting because I'm in 2 leagues, Busch League and the Republic League, and I like the fact that they're 2 totally different types of leagues. In the Republic League is an actual draft, and if you draft 11, 12, 13, which is where I'm usually at, because in case you're asking, yes, I did win last year.
Okay.
So I never have a chance to get a Mike Trout, and in the Busch League, the nice thing about an auction is that you can be in on every player, or you could be out on every player, depending upon how much money. And you just don't know the dynamics of the room, and it's just so hard to prepare for. What about you? What's your draft preparation at this point?
It's funny. I do the same thing. I start in January, and I really just build and making sure I have everyone accounted for. When I've tried, you remember when we've had guys fill in. I was overseas one time, and we had Kevin Egan or my brother draft for me, and then that guy Jim Tobolski drafted for someone because I don't know if Rick was out or Greg was overseas, and I would tell them, look, you just need to have every National League player accounted for. And he's like, I remember meeting with him, and Tobolski said, yeah, I got some surprises. I think I'll be able to. I was like, you're not sneaking anyone through. Like, there's 10 of us or 8 of us at that time. Everyone has that guy on his list because because of the amount of owners we have. You need to account for everyone that could possibly play on a big league club in the National League. And when I kind of explain that when I tell people about the rotisserie league that I'm in, you need to account for everyone. So that's what I try to do. I try to account for everyone that could possibly be on a roster, and you try to rank them as best you can. But like you said, in the end, it really matters when they come up in the draft and how much money everyone has. There were the guys that everyone would try to bid on: Bonds, Pujols, right? Randy Johnson. Everyone would bid on those guys, but those middle of the road stars, it really just depends on where they come up in the draft and how much money everyone has at that time. And it doesn't matter what you budgeted for them. It only matters how much you.
All draft day strategy, but back to your story about trying to sneak people through. If you remember, this is only 2 years ago, 2018. I guess everybody had heard of Ronald Acuna, but I don't think he had a major league at bat at that point.
Right.
And I think it was kind of, if you will, the elephant in the room. And I think it was kind of late in the draft from what I recall. And Bob Kirk ended up spending on somebody that we're trying to sneak through $2.05.
Right. That wasn't guaranteed a spot when we left that night. Yeah.
Right. Nobody knew what he was gonna turn out to be. Now, he's saying he's gonna be the first 50-50 player.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah. And he could very well be that. Yeah. But it's funny that people are bidding that much. That's a huge amount of money for someone that you're not sure if it's even going to play. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it
worked out for him.
I remember that too with the 2 Cuban guys, Puig and Soler, because people weren't sure how they were going to kind of fit in, and I think Rick ended up getting Puig, which he was a good player the first couple of years. He's kind of crazy now, but there were guys like that too.
He's still unsigned, and Soler had a really nice year.
He did
in Kansas City. I think he hit over 40 home runs last year.
Yeah, the year I had him, he was nuts. Yeah, he couldn't. You need players to overperform to win this thing, right? Because everyone's going to have good players and everyone's going to have bad players. It's those other players in between that you need to kind of figure out how you're going to get, and you need to get them in the right time to get yourself in the running.
So let me ask you something, Roger, because I think the Busch League adage is you can't win the league on draft day, but you can certainly lose it on draft day. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, because the fab can kind of fill some holes for you, a couple holes, but yeah, I can't build a whole team.
And
unless you get completely lucky.
New rule changes that we had made. When I say new, I want to say somewhere in the mid 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
We actually instituted, with the using websites, and CBS was huge with this, is using FAB, which stands for Free Agent Acquisition Bidding. So you do have an element of kind of a draft, if you will, and then we have we have the auction portion of it, and the idea behind it is to supplement your rosters and year with Fab, and we could probably devote a whole episode of, and maybe we will sometime once the season starts, just talking about Fab and what people look for, and how you think that you're I talked about this at the winter draft, or excuse me, the winter meetings, how I thought my season was going to be made. And I got outbid on Harold Ramirez when I bid $2 on Harold Ramirez.
Yeah.
Lamenting that whole next Sunday morning, and all the angst that's filled in there.
Yeah, and sometimes those patterns you can't figure them out. What to bid, because it's almost like a sub economy that goes on. You think like, all right, I think his value is about $3. I'll bid $5 because I just really want him, and then you're like, wow, that guy went for 17. Like, I wasn't even close.
Yeah. That happens a lot, Raj, right around with the trading deadline.
Yeah.
You can tell the people that are kind of. I think Rick is probably one of these people that holds on his money and tries to get the big free agents. You've gotten some in the past. I've never gotten any big. What we'll call free agents, essentially American leaguers moving over to the National League.
Yeah, and it's a risk you take, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Lately I've hit on a few of them that I carried over to my next year's roster, and sometimes, like you said, it's a guessing game. Yeah. So
where do you, without giving away too much information, how do you get to Fab? How do you look at the players available? Are you looking at the best player that's available, or are you looking to fill holes in your roster?
Well, like last year I lost Steven Souza. So I lost him on the first day. So then I have to look at, all right, I need someone that's going to get at bats. Like, I'm not even looking at really any type of specific stat as much as Sam is just the guy going to be in the game. You know what I mean? So early on, I ended up getting Dyson, which that guy had a pretty good year, but he had 400 at bats, and that's at that point I just like thinking I just want at bats. I can't stay in this thing and miss a guy that was going to give me 500 plate appearances. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, that's what I try to get at bats. I try to find someone that'll just play. Because I mean, think about it. Before they start bringing people up, so you're looking at June, July, but there's not much out there. You know what I mean? You get lucky on a few guys, but there's really not much out there. Especially if you look at first baseman. There's not a lot of. There's only 16 first basemen, and each of us probably have 2 of them on the team.
So let's go back to your point earlier and look at it from a mathematical standpoint. We have in the league 23 active roster spots that will count towards your stats, and we have 10 reserve spots. Now, not all 10 have to be filled. Roster spots that have to be filled. They could be American leaguers, they could be minor leaguers, or they could be potential Fab spots for later. But let's just assume that all 10 Busch League teams filled those 33 spots. That's 330 roster spots.
Yeah.
There's only 350 roster spots in the National League right now. So, that's damn near 100%. Back to your point, Raj, about how you have to have pretty much everybody listed in the National League and then some.
Yeah, and then some. Yeah, you got to have everybody accounted for. The only guys you can leave out is the Phillies middle relievers. You don't want them.
And there's a lot of them.
Right, we talked about that last week. They're the worst players on the roster, the middle relievers. Right? Yeah. So you're right. Your prep is to, and hopefully the last couple of years has kind of been crazy because free agents have been signing very late. Remember Harper, Machado? They weren't even signed this time last year. The spring training started. Moustakas 2 years ago wasn't signed at this point, and you're just kind of filling out who you like, and then you're thinking, all right, well, this is who I like, but you still got Harper and Machado out there. I don't know if they might be 2 guys that are in the National League, they're definitely guys someone's going to draft. But then you take the shortstop that was going to play for San Diego. He's not playing now, so I got to figure out what to do with him.
So that brings up a really good point here, because we can go a couple different ways on that. But I guess the right? And he's a little bit different player than Machado and Bryce Harper because he can be kind of I guess a clubhouse annoyance, a distraction, if you will. But certainly last year Harper and Machado should have been signed at that point. And doesn't that lead you to believe that there's possible collusion in Major League Baseball? I mean, I almost harken back to the day. What was it? Was it 1987, 88 when nobody had signed Andre Dawson?
Yeah.
And then the Cubs ended up signing him. Sometime in May, he went on to have an MVP year.
Yeah.
But it just makes me worry about Major League Baseball and what's coming up with the collective bargaining agreement or the CBA. Am I off base on this?
Well, I mean, I guess that would be the natural tendency to look at the owners and say, come on, these guys are top of the line players that are under 26, 27 years old. But then the other side is you put yourself in the owner's position. How quick are you to spend $300 million? I feel like, the agent might say, hey, we need a decision today. And I'm at the owner saying, dude, that's $300 million. Why don't you give me like a couple weeks to kind of think through this here? You know what I mean? I mean, we're not talking about a regular salary. You're talking about you want me to commit $300 million. Well, let me talk to my accountants and see how we want to structure this. Yeah, you know what I mean? Do I want to pay you early? Is the money going to be worth less down the road? It'll be more like there's more decisions. Just saying, yeah, what the hell? We'll give you $30 million a year for 10 years. I mean, it's a big investment, right?
Certainly, I mean, and we all get caught up as fans thinking about it from a fan's perspective. But to your point, there's certainly a lot of business decisions that have to go into that. Like if you ask Mike Hampton, you got to think about the schools.
Right. Yeah, and because I guess you always have that one advisor that's in your ear saying, "Hey, just be mindful. The Mets are still paying Bobby Bonilla, so let's slow the roll."
We're gonna have to Google that.
I think he's paid off now.
Until 2030?
No, I think he may be done actually.
Oh,
I think he may be done. Yeah, I don't know, but there's always that guy who's like, the Mets are still paying Bonilla. What? Right. So, like Arenado had that deal, and then they have the 2-year. He has the 2-year opt-out. So, you spend this money on an asset, and the asset has the chance to back out at any time. After 2 years, I don't know. I think there's a lot of thought that goes into that, and the Phillies guys, that guy hasn't been the owner for that long, so. Yeah, I know he said he's going to spend stupid money, but still, when you're about to write that check, you have to kind of think twice about, hey, let me kind of think through this, man. So
getting back to Bobby Bonilla, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Bobby Bonilla, Mets started paying him an annual paycheck of $1.19 million starting in 2009, ending in 2035.
Oh my God!
Adding up to a total payment of $29.8 million, and in 2035 he will be 72 years old.
That's a good deal for him. Yeah. He has
every July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day.
He has a job that I want. I have no responsibility until someone pays me once a year. Mm-hmm.
Hey, someday it's not too late. If they're going to pay you to 72, you still have another 20 some years in front of you. So
right.
There's still a chance.
Yeah, there's still a chance. Okay, so we like I said, we got the draft 21 March. Everyone knows where they're at, and hopefully it won't take too long. I don't think it'll take 8 hours. I don't know how long it last year's took, because I guess it depends on how many people are retained. So we can kind of gauge that once retention's in.
We don't have an official time yet, right? Can you just go back through the time and provide the draft address again for everybody?
Sure, it's 120 Conestoga Woods Road, Lancaster, PA 17602.
Out in the Conti.
I'm sorry?
Out in the Conti.
Out in the Conti?
County.
No, we don't talk like that out here. No. we're more towards the city folk. Hopefully you won't.
Okay.
Yeah, you won't see any
Won't be
buggies.
the judge of that.
Yeah, well, you won't see any buggies out here. I hope not. Anyway. Yeah. So, and then we can go out afterward if people are staying over, and yeah, it'll be fun. We'll just kind of make a whole day of it.
And what about retention? When is that due by?
So the retention's due 1 week prior. So draft's on the 21st. So the retention's due midnight on the 14th.
Okay, so we got what 3 weekends left?
We do. We have 3 weekends left toward retention. I guess Case is gonna. We better email that. We better send that out through email because Tom's gonna need it as well. I don't think Tom's in any of our texts. So.
And just a recollection for everybody. I want to say it was last year or the year before we had adjusted the retention that now you can retain up to 7 individuals, and I think it just has to be of those 7, 2 have to be no more than no more than 5 can be reserve picks, or I forget how it goes. But Bill knows. Maybe we'll get him on the podcast before that.
Yeah, so I think you can only have 5 on your active roster. No more than 5 on your active roster, up to 7. So 5 on your active roster, 2 in the reserve, or 0 on your active roster and 7 in reserve. But yeah, you can have no more than 5 on your active roster.
I think there's a 2-5 rule or a 5-2 rule or something. But well, that's one of the things that we need somebody to work on in retirement is the rules.
What, organizing them?
Yeah. But you know what? If we had rules, would we even follow them? And what fun would it be? Because, we need a certain amount of chaos during the draft, don't we?
Well, I don't know. I think we're good at following rules. We're just not good at remembering where we put them.
Yeah, I can't imagine that gets any better with age, does it?
I knew it's around here somewhere. Just give me a minute.
And everybody wearing their cheater glasses, too. Oh, boy.
Well, mine aren't cheaters anymore. Mine are real. I need these to live.
Yeah. Well, just to let you know, if you notice at the draft, I don't wear any glasses because I have multifocal contact lenses. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah, I have a problem sticking stuff in my eye. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, well, you have a problem sticking stuff in your eye, but you don't have any problem poking people in the eye, do you?
No, it doesn't hurt me. I still use pencils, so that's where I'm at in my life. Okay, so we got that covered, and then there are some things that went on with the Astros cheating scandal. I wonder when this is going to die down. I guess it'll die down at some point, but one of the things I wanted to bring up is Dusty Baker, who I have a lot of respect for as a player and as a manager. I think the guy's obviously been very successful. Guys like playing for him. He's always had winning teams. I think he's won a division everywhere he's been with the Giants, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Nationals. And he hasn't managed, it's not like he's walked into the Yankees. He hasn't managed those type of organizations. He had the Giants when they just had Bonds, and I lived out there. And then he battled through, and he's just a good manager. He's a good, solid manager. For some reason, he can't get over the hump. But this week, he's basically asking the commissioner to issue a warning to opposing pitchers so there isn't a retaliation. And I know you and I chatted a bit before, but I just find that anti-Dusty Baker. I mean, this is the guy that went after Tony La Russa one time in a brawl, right?
That was the Johnny Cueto, Yadier Molina.
Yeah, right?
Well, and I think, what was his name? Phillips, the second
Brandon
baseman.
Phillips, yeah.
Brandon Phillips was in that whole thing. Yeah.
And him, he walks around with a toothpick in his mouth, and now he's waving a white flag. It just doesn't seem like his personality. So I actually came up with a little plan that I think everyone should be in agreement.
Oh, boy, this should be good. Let's hear it.
So there is an unwritten rule where if you have a batter hit, the other team gets one crack at you. So I think the commissioner should issue the unwritten rule that every team in baseball has one crack at the Astros, where they can hit anybody once at any time. So they get one shot at him. If they swing him, if they miss the guy or they hit him with a curveball or they don't hit him where they wanted to, they have to live with that. And you just got to move on. but everyone gets one shot.
It's kind of like the Mets pitcher going after Roger Clemens, right? And I think he totally missed. I don't remember who it was. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah,
make it count.
Yeah, if you miss, that's on you. But everyone's got one shot at this team. And I think we talked last week. I think most of it would be thrown at Bregman and Correa, but they're bringing it upon themselves a little bit.
Yeah, well, they're unrepentant, and I guess that's what I find most galling is that them saying that they would have won the World Series anyway. So if you're going to win the World Series anyway, why do you need to cheat? But one of the things I don't think has really stuck in their mind is the impact it's had on other players. That if Aaron Judge would have won the MVP that year, how much more does that mean to his salary? Marginal players that may have had their only crack against the Astros and got lit up and never saw the major leagues again. What does it mean to them? So, listen, I understand. Sports is about, competition and getting that edge, but I know that they've crossed over that line, and I find it hard to believe that, if they were in a series against the Red Sox or the Yankees, I got to believe most of America is going to be rooting for the Yankees.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, if that was the case, I think I would root for the Yankees. The Astros they're pretty indignant. They come across as pretty pompous, almost like an adolescent. Like, what's your problem? Like, I did something stupid. What's the problem? Why are you hassling me? Being critical and trying to discipline me. It's like, well, wait a minute. No, you're going to sit and listen to this.
Well, they just don't get it, and then they seek out protection from the commissioner, saying that, hey, we shouldn't be hit. I can't disagree with a lot of the fans out there, and there's a lot of news out there, just fans being upset. Now, listen, some fans have gone too far in social media world and issuing death threats and that type of thing. Obviously this is a game, and you don't want to take it that far, but they've got to expect some on-field retaliation, don't you think?
Oh yeah, and they're definitely going to get it, and everyone's going to expect it, probably in California, but I think Joe Madden's savvy enough to not want to bring that down upon his team, and maybe he's even issued saying, don't even pitch close. Let's get through the season, and they'll come back around. It's we're going to play them, so don't get stuck on the first day.
Well, how about so you have a couple of players like Nick Trout, calling them out.
Yeah.
Nick Markakis saying, quote, every player over there needs a beating. I mean, these are normally two pretty sedate guys when it comes to the public, right?
Yeah. And it's Markakis they could probably say something back to, but what are they going to say to Trout? Like, who are you? Well, I'm just the guy that's won 3 MVPs and finished second the other 3 years in the 6 years that I've been in the league, and I don't even know what pitch is coming. Yeah, I'm considered like today's Mickey Mantle and Willie Mays. Yeah, what were they going to say to Mike Trout?
Would you have hit if you knew what pitch was coming?
Oh no, I still wouldn't have. No, I probably would have. I'd hit a solid 230. Yeah, because
if you told me what pitch was coming, if you told me what location, and if you kept it under 70 miles an hour, I would have smoked that ball.
So I don't mean to be rude, but I used to tell you, not you personally, but anybody that faced me in wiffle ball, I would tell you what pitch I was throwing, and you guys still couldn't hit it.
I recall the days when you used to toy with Rob, and he couldn't touch you with a 10-foot pole, and you would tell everybody, you would turn around, and you would tell everybody to sit down. I'm going to strike this guy out. And it was like the old Bugs Bunny cartoon, 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out, 1, 2, 3 strikes you're out. And it was just, yeah.
It would infuriate him.
And then you would just laugh, and you would laugh out there on the mound, and I think as a teammate of Rob's, I think that was worthy of a beating and a beating.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I probably should have, but whatever. But I do remember that. Yeah, he was an easy target sometimes.
Oh, he made it too easy.
Yeah, and the other, I would talk bad, and I'm not talking bad. I'm just stating a fact, just an observation. He wasn't as athletic as maybe you were, Bill was, or Bob, or even Stan. So with you guys, I had to worry. Like, I couldn't say stuff like that because I thought, all right, if my pitch isn't that good, I mean, you guys are going to turn on it. But him, I wasn't worried about.
Hence the reason you had everybody sit down.
Yeah, like Ralph, I wouldn't worry about either. But there was always one pitch that I screw up, and he put over onto the roof, and I just said, God bless him. I cannot believe I threw that. Yeah. So, but I do remember that. I haven't thought about that in years, and that was pretty funny. But I couldn't say it to you other guys. Because,
I remember those things. Believe me, we'll have more opportunities this season to bring those kind of things up.
But I wasn't cheating. Well, sometimes I would. Like if I would get beer on the ball, it would really be slick, and it would really just slide off my hand. It was pretty. Yeah, so I'd have people kick my beer over, and I just rub the ball in it, and it would be kind of wet, and it was like a spitball. It was really kind of. It would it would start dancing a little bit, and yeah.
So let me ask you something here. What kind of teammate did you consider yourself in wiffle ball? Because I remember when I would come up to ask you, "Hey, how do you throw that pitch?" Man, you were so tight-lipped. There was no information coming out of you.
Right, because we weren't actually teammates. I mean, it would rotate.
You're right, because we had top half and bottom half. And you were always in the bottom half, so I was always playing against you. You're right. Good point.
I don't remember it quite that way, but you get the point I'm making. Right, so I think I was a good teammate. I think I would give 100%. I was always trying to win. I think I was a good teammate. I don't think I'd ever slack or...
So let me ask you something here. If there was ever a scandal like the Astros had in the Busch League, do you think it would be the two of us, would be the Correa and Bregman of the Busch League that would have to go up and issue an apology? Because I think both of us could really do a really insincere, glib type of apology better than most.
Yeah, I could do like Dwight in The Office. I state my regret.
Great reference.
But you know what's funny is that I feel like if any of us, I guess the way you would cheat in wiffle ball is stuff newspaper in one of them, but which I don't know might have been done at times. I don't think anyone really cared. They would just said, all right, is that the new boundary of the game? Then we'll conform to the new rules and go from there. I don't think anyone would have really complained, right? Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
I don't think anyone. They would have just let it go and thinking, all right, it'll come back around. I'll figure out how to beat them.
Beer will do that to you. Game 2, Game 3, it got out of hand anyway. So.
And Game 5, no one cared.
Game 5, you're pretty much dead tired anyway by that point.
I don't want to hit anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, the only thing I wanted to else bring up before we close this thing was, we talked a little bit last week about the new rules, and I went back and read them again this week. I gotta tell you, James, I'm really struggling with this minimum 3-batter rule, and this is why. It's a pace of play rule, but managers use this to win. It's a strategic move to win a game or to keep them in the game thinking they can win later in the innings. I mean, I don't know the statistics on this, but I can't believe that these type of moves happen so often that they're just bogging down the game. I mean, it doesn't happen in a 10-1 game. Like, you never have to worry about that, right? It's close games, late in the inning, and it would normally be with left-handed hitters, throwing a left-handed pitcher against them. And it was a strategic move to get them out. Or it'd be a right-handed slider pitcher with a right-handed hitter to get him to roll over on a slider for a double play. So I struggle with the 3-batter minimum because that's not the point of why they do that. You know what I mean?
I kind of view it from two standpoints, right? Okay, if I'm watching a game on TV, and I watch a fair amount of Cardinal games on MLB, the commercials, it becomes maddening, right? But if you're at the stadium, I don't think you really care, or you shouldn't care that you're going to go see a Steve Carlton game. You want The old Yogi Berra saying of "It's never over until it's over" is so true in baseball. It's unlike football at the end where the last 27 seconds they're congratulating each other, or basketball where they're just dribbling it out unless somebody steals it from them and dunks on them. Then there's a whole fight that begins. But I just see it from two different views, and I don't know how to feel about that. So, I'll take your word that it may not be good for baseball. Well, I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah, I mean, and the marginal fan might look at it at a Tuesday night in July like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? But if the marginal fans
in July, they're going for dollar dog night anyway.
Yeah,
right?
But I'm talking about even watching on TV. They don't understand that these are these people's livelihoods. Like the manager, every game counts, even though it's 162 games. How many times have we seen 162 games and it comes down to one or two games that they win the division by, or got a playoff spot? So I just feel like when it's done strategically, which it is. I mean, they just don't randomly throw in left-handed relievers against left-handed hitters, and they do it strategically to stop the bleeding, to keep it close, or to keep their lead until they can get to their closer. And I just have a problem with it. That's all. Yeah.
So. Well, it's going to be interesting. Let's mark the progress over the course of the season and see what the reaction is and how it impacts the game.
Yeah. All right. So next week, it will be it'll be March, right? March 3rd next week.
Yes.
And we'll be 2 weeks out from the from retention. Next week we're going to trying to get Tom Freeze on here, and you'll be on as well, and we'll talk about league origin, something that we touched on a little bit on our first podcast, and hopefully, depending on time, we can rebook them to talk about that late 90s, early 2000s period where we had to get it cranked back up again. Also, for those of you have listened before last week, Jamie and I casually talked about being the oldest continuous rotisserie league possibly in the country. But we did some research last week, and we're not that far off. There's two documented leagues that started in 1981. Might remember that, right? 1981.
Well, I don't know. I think we have to read through that again, because I think that league that began at Columbia University, I want to say that they said that they were students at that time when they talked about. That's what they were, students together. But I don't think their league started until 2000, because I swear they said this is their 20th year, which might be the oldest. And I'm like, you guys have no idea. I mean, you were
right
when that happened. So
yeah, that one article did mention that, and Daniel Okrent, who was one of the guys who started this, they started in 80.
Well, he's kind of the godfather of the league. In fact, he wrote. I still might have that, the original rotisserie league book. And in fact, maybe we'll bring that up someday. Yeah, I have it sitting here. Yeah, introduction by Dan Okrent, edited by Glenn Wagner. So we're getting into some of the OGs of rotisserie league baseball.
The OGs, right? And one of the members of that original league was a professor at Columbia who told his students, and then they kind of picked up from there. Which I feel like I thought in the article they talked about 1981, but I didn't really trust it because that was the strike year, and they never talked about like how they dealt with that. So
yeah,
but whatever.
They're blowing holes in their story already.
Yeah,
maybe we get Bill to maybe we get somebody to investigate that. This is officially called, everybody. Go out there and investigate, because we are. My claim. By the way, facts don't matter anymore. I'm claiming that we're still the oldest rotisserie league out there.
We're certainly the oldest one that originated in South Coventry. So.
And on that note.
Yeah. So next week we'll have Tom Freeze. We're gonna talk about league origin. We'll talk about any baseball stuff that's going on, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you see Rick Lake or Bob Freeze or Tom Freeze around, or you communicate with them, tell them to please get on Twitter and listen so we can add it. I got my daughter. She's on, so she's listening now. And she does nothing about baseball, but she thinks it's cool that She thinks I'm on the radio.
Hopefully it's a little bit funny, too.
I think it's funny. Which, apparently you and I think it's funny. That's all that really matters.
Good point.
Oh, real quick before and I forgot to ask you this, it was in my notes. You mentioned that you had a beer that actually had saffron in it.
I actually had a drink. We were in a speakeasy in Austin. Yeah. So the backstory of this is when I hosted another championship party at my house. You had asked me, first of all, you looked like, what are these little short glasses and why there's all these beers that are open already? And I think it was Bill that kind of clued you in, or Tom, the beer lovers clued you in that, hey, these are sips. You can just take sips of these different beers. We're going to try all these. And I think you might have had one, and you came up to me and said, hey, do you have any beer without any saffron in it? So I actually recently experienced a drink at the speakeasy in Austin that truly did have saffron in the drink. So I actually thought of you.
Yeah.
I think they called it the Blue Light, or they called it the Bantam Rooster. I'm not sure what the name of the drink was, but that's what I called it.
Maybe Seven. Yeah, so I went a little out of my lane as well. This weekend I had an Iron City Light. Yeah. Tap.
Yikes.
Yeah, she offered it to me in a can, and I'm like, I'm graduated from cans. We talked about that last week. Go ahead, throw the tap on there. And it was like 18 ounces. I had to use two hands to grab this thing.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Hey, that sounds like a punishment.
It brought me back to the years I was there, so I enjoyed it.
It's the beer version of waterboarding.
Felt like waterboarding when I had I had two of them. Yeah. So, all right, please join us next week for episode 3, where we'll have Tom Freeze under the Bearcats and some other good stuff. All right, James, have a good week.
Thank you, my friend. Enjoy your week, and I'll talk to you next week.
You got it, buddy.